What's up, everyone? This is Griever back here, bringing you guys the latest behind-the-bar reviews for One Piece. One Piece, chapter 958. We are going back to Wano Act 3. I was hoping for about one more chapter, but with the fire. Like, Oda last chapter could have just given us the four Yonko. The current four Yonko. We already knew Blackbeard, but he gave us Kaido, Big Mom, and Shanks. We would have been fine with just one of those bounties, or even all three of the new ones. But he takes it a step further and gives us Whitebeard and Rogers, the king of the pirates, the biggest bounty in history for piracy, along with Edward Newgate himself, and all this exposition about rocks. So you know what? Because that chapter basically through 20 years of waiting, just write it all in one, I'm okay with it. I'm okay that we went back to Wano. Now, really quick, guys, this review is going to be quite short. I know I did not intend for this, but my Escanor review for the Seven Deadly Sins chapter last week, it went over the 45-minute mark. It was like 51 minutes or something like that. I apologize for that. I didn't intend it to be a Teching 101 sized review. It just ended up that way for a 2-page special. What are you going to do? This one, unfortunately, is going to be late, and it's also going to be very quick because, and I'm glad that One Piece can be summarized very easily this week. I'm glad, almost happy that it's not a super fire chapter because I just don't have time to dedicate. For a quick rundown, I'm doing stuff in the living room, rebuilding the entire living room sort of idea, along with the entire basement and stuff. And I here in Canada, we have something called winter and winter cold. And unfortunately, I need to get this place cleaned up, wired, and insulated before winter hits. And our winter hits, sometime in mid-November. So unfortunately, some of my other videos and reviews might be late. Anyways, enough of that. We don't have time. We don't have time. So, all right. This chapter, right off the bat, don't care about the whole Lola looking for each other, blah, 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 Beige and all that stuff. Don't really care. We jump over right before we start 10 Act 3, because we don't start 10 Act 3 until about halfway through the chapter, a little before. But we do see one more scene from the past. We see Roger himself, we see other members of the Roger Pirates, we see Rayleigh, we see Buggy, we see Red-Haired Shanks, but we also see, and we see Crocus, who him and Roger being two drunks are beating the crap out of each other. That was humorous. It was a really great scene. This also proves, which is what I have said for a long time, I believe that both Buggy, at the very least Shanks, but I also think that Buggy went on the last voyage of the Pirate King. They conquered the Grand Line. Buggy might have left at some point, but Shanks knows. I think even Buggy knows. But to an extent, he has so much respect for Rayleigh and Roger, especially Roger. He has such a level of respect. That's the one treasure he will not touch. Buggy probably was there. He knows what One Piece is. He knows where Roger's treasure is. Whether he can get there or not might take a little more skill than he has. But either way, I think out of one sign of respect, that kind of pirate code thing, Buggy lives by a symbolism of what it is to be a pirate. But to be on the Pirate King's ship for that long, he must have some level of respect. And I firmly believe that now. I firmly believed it before. And I think this proves it because Odin even stated last chapter, Odin was a friend of Red-Haired Shanks. We now see why. But also, in the last chapter, it was said he was a member of Whitebeard's crew for a long time. And then he defected and went on the Pirate King's last voyage, his conquering of the Grand Line. And we know this all adds up because Crocus is on the crew with Roger. This was his last trek. Shanks and Buggy are there. They were there. Odin was only there for the conquering of the Grand Line. He wasn't there for 10 years with Roger. He was only there for the amount of time it took to conquer the Grand Line on that one voyage. So I just wanted to bring that up. We also see a scene that we don't actually see Odin, but we see him talk about opening up. He's got to go back to Wano, open up the borders. It's time, blah, blah, blah. And then we jump forward to the present. We jump forward to, we see everyone willing to support him in this. And it's something that you kind of sit back and kind of go, had Roger lived and stuff and had heard about what had happened 20 years ago sort of idea. It's hard to say, but I'm surprised that when they heard about this, see, I'm under the impression, I don't have the timeline, but imagine had Roger lived and the Roger Pirates were still together, and then they heard that one of their Nakama, one of their crewmates, was murdered, by Kaido. I think, Roger and Rayleigh, if nobody else, Roger and Rayleigh would go and take the fire to Wano and decimate him, So it's unfortunate that this is what happens when, no matter how powerful Oden was, he was only one man. And anyways, I really like this scene. I'm glad Oda put it in. Now, the rest of the chapter, we start 10 Act 3. This can be summed up pretty easily. Number one, apparently here in the Fire Festival, like, even the people are happy. The Fire Festival has started. We get a beautiful double-page spread of, everyone celebrating, everybody happy. Orochi's going over. Apparently he left Kiyoshiro in charge. They're doing the security detail and stuff, but they're all just discussing all about the Fire Festival, and it started, yay, and Orochi is now headed to Onigashima, or is already there by the end of the chapter. We also see the citizenship, the citizenry, they're running around, and they're actually happy, because the Fire Festival is the day where they can cut loose as far as they are allowed to. Even though they hate Orochi, and they're oppressed under his rule, this is the one day Orochi actually, loosens that leash a little. He doesn't let it go, but he just, just loosens his grip on that leash a little bit and lets them have a bit of at least one night, right? So, and apparently, according to this chapter, alcohol's banned. Yeah. Yeah, Orochi ain't taking this away from me. Fuck that. I'm sitting back and Wano, what the hell are you? You none of it? Now, see, nobody will get that, because I don't think I have a single Canadian viewer, so nobody will get that reference about none of it. And no, I don't feel like explaining it here. If you're actually curious, comment section down below, and I might tell you what that reference was for. And if you're from Canada, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Now, that being said, after this, the rest of the chapter can be summed up as, it's the day of the Fire Festival. The group we saw before with Kinemon, Momo, Shinobu, Inarashi, Shutamaru, all them, right? All the retainers are standing there at the shoreline, at the harbor, in the meeting place. Nobody's there. Luffy's not there. Hyogoro's not there. 4,000 men aren't there. Frankie's not there. Nekomamushi has not shown up yet with Marco, and I'm assuming Vista and Jozu are going to show up as well, or at least some remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates, even if they're only fodder soldiers. So they aren't there yet. What else do we have? Also, speaking of Inarashi, I think there was a reference to the full moon being in the sky. So some Sulon Foreign and Arashi going on, I'm waiting for it. I really hope we do see Nekomamushi and Inarashi, because Sulon Foreign with those guys, that is why they were, that's why they're on this tier, They would have decimated Jack had that been possible at the time when he attacked Zoe. So, suffice it to say, nobody's there. Not a soul. And not only that, as Shutamaru says, look, Kinemon, the heavens themselves are against us. And people are breaking down. Momo is like, we gotta change the date, we can't do it now. And, Shinobu's crying, going, this can't be true. And Shutamaru's just like this, the heavens themselves, life, fate is against us. They don't want the Kazukis back. Our time is over. This is just nuts. And we see the waves and the storm and just everything. I mean, they can see Onigashima. It's right damn well there. But, it's just, yeah. So, either way, so this chapter can be summed up as, where did everybody go and what happened? That is pretty much what can summarize this chapter as the main point. Is that, where is everybody? Because it's not just one group, but every group. Nobody's there. I don't know. At the end of it here, though, Inarashi actually starts like grabbing a rowboat. I was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "No, I found something that I can get over there with." Inarashi's not stopping. Inarashi, if it's true that there's a full moon, Inarashi gets over to Onigashima, he might not be able to take on Kaido, but you can't tell me that Inarashi's Sulong form ain't kicking some Calamity all-star ass. Because that's exactly what Inarashi gonna do. This is a man who was on the crew of one of the greatest pirates ever. Like, you gotta add the respect to the name. Respect the name until we are shown otherwise. So, yeah, that all happened. Apparently, Orochi knows something about it because the final page of the chapter is he's got his like fingers into this and stuff. And we saw before in a previous chapter that he did translate the message and stuff. So what happened to Luffy? What happened to? And remember, this is going to be the longest act. So I think Act 2 was like, I don't know, how many chapters was Act 2? Like 10, 15? Something like that. It depends on what you count from Act 2 to here, you know. So, but this act will probably be, I'm going to guess, if I'm right about it being roughly 15 chapters was Act 2, then I'm going to guess about 25 to 30. One was going to be the biggest arc, but Act 4 and 5 are usually very short. Act 3 is usually the big, long one, so in a kabuki place. So this is going to be the longest stretch that we're going to have. I think that's why Oda gave us that break with the two chapters in between Act 2 and 3, just to like satiate us and give us some hot fire, like some golden, platinum-covered gold going on here. And from then on, now we're going to be in the thick of Wano for the foreseeable future. Like, I don't think we're getting out of Act 3 until next year. So, but that being said, that's basically the chapter. There's not much more to talk about. There was one reference. I think Tekken 101 made it. I was listening to his review while I was ripping out the ceiling and wiring some plugs. He made a reference that I was going to make just here at the end, guys, about Buggy. Buggy, it was called by Odin, was called Buggy Jiro. Jiro meaning second son. It's probably not a reference, but Tekking also made the connection that don't knock Jiro because he's always referred to as the second son when he's talking about him and Shanks. And Buggy, you know, of course, the rivalry with Shanks. So he takes it as a bit of an insult, being called his second. But as Tekking pointed out the same deal that I thought, I was like, Jiro, I mean, the whole reason that Jiro was called Jiro in Toriko, the greatness that is one of the big four, I will always say it's the big four. And if you don't like it, well, we can kick Naruto out because that shit sucked. Toriko, we had Jiro, Knocking Master Jiro, and that dude was a badass. Actually so named because he didn't really have a name. He was given the name because he was the second adopted son. Hence, second son, Jiro. That's what he was named after. So I already knew this reference. It made a lot of sense. I was like, yeah, Buggy, don't knock that. So I read the same thing into it. But I don't want to steal Tekking's thunder or saying like, oh, you listened to him, that's how you made the connection. No, I really did. But anyways, that being said, guys, sorry for the quickness of this review. I know there's probably more to talk about in this chapter and stuff, but I haven't even had a chance to read the rest of the chapters released this week. I'm going balls to the wall with this shit, and yes, you can make a ball joke if you'd like to in the comment section down below. This has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, it's always very much appreciated. Drink responsibly as always, guys. This has been One Piece, chapter 958. Break next week, which kind of helps me out a little bit. But of course, I always hate it when we have breaks because, I mean, One Piece is fire. One Piece is always lit. It's always fire. I can't wait to see more of it. And yeah, so that's it. That's pretty much it. I already said my outro. So drink responsibly one more time. But if you don't, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say one thing. Don't mix your alcohol. Long Island iced tea is the exception, not the rule. But just remember, if you're drinking beer that night, stick to your beer. If you're going to overindulge and drink wine, stick to wine. If you're going to drink rum, stick to rum. Don't have beer, wine, rum, whiskey. That's just a cocktail, a disaster, right? Stick to a liquor. I don't care if you mix your rum with orange juice, Pepsi, 7-Up. I don't really care. But you can mix up the mix. Don't mix up the booze. All right? So, yeah, that's going to be my outro this time. So, we'll see you later. Something about something else. Bye.